Welcome back. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you had a beautiful start to 2026, and I truly hope that this year brings you all the love, success, happiness, peace that you deserve. I'm very grateful for this corner of the internet, so thank you for being here. And if you're new, hi, I'm Moya. Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome. One of my most requested videos last year was to do a full video dedicated to journaling, how I write, how to get started, what I use, and I thought this would be a great way to begin the new year. I've been documenting my life for nearly 20 years, which is kind of wild to think about. Back at my parents' house, you'll find boxes of old notebooks dating back to primary school years, through high school, university, mess of the early 20s, every childhood crush, fight, minor existential crisis, solo trip detailed in ink, for hopefully nobody else to read apart from me. I never really questioned why I journaled. I think I've always loved writing, and before I started making videos online, it was my way of keeping a record of my life. I think it's really wonderful that I can go back to this and remember what a random Thursday in May felt like. I do believe some of my core happiness comes from being able to see the beauty in everyday things, and journaling has really helped me appreciate that. Writing gives weight to ordinary things in the same way that art can do. And whether I intend to write a gratitude list at the end of the day, if I'm simply recounting some things that happened, it's quite easy to see how something very simple can end up being beautiful or more impactful than you realize. Joan Didion has a wonderful essay on keeping a notebook that I highly recommend you reading if you haven't already. I love going back to that. She outlines that one of the true benefits of writing for her is self-understanding and self-preservation. It helps you remember how something made you feel and stay connected to your changing self. One of my favorite lines from that essay is, "Remember what it was to be me. That is always the point." I really believe journaling has helped me understand myself better. This is a space where I can be completely honest without judgment, work through things at my own pace, bring meaning to whatever chaos is happening outside or also in here. Let's get into my supplies. My favorite pen has always been the Muji 0.38. Genuinely think that this is the most consistent thing in my life. I love how this writes. It's so smooth. It's a very fine tip. If you prefer something thicker, they have a 0.5 and a 0.7 millimeters. Paper thing has rubbed off because I just get the refills. I like to keep a couple of them in my drawer because I genuinely hate writing if I don't have this pen. I've used it throughout school and university, and I use it every single day. As for notebooks, it's kind of changed over the years. I usually gravitate towards Muji. I really like the quality of their paper, and they're usually quite affordable. Did go through a moleskin phase. I like the soft cover journals, but I find that the paper is a lot thinner than Muji notebooks. I have a couple of old journals from earlier last year, and these were both the Muji B6 open flat notebook. What I like about these is they open flat, exactly what it says on the tin. Makes it really easy for writing, and in here I would have everything from my weekly intentions, to-do lists. I have goals, I have more emotional pages, my morning pages, everything I would keep within one notebook. But towards the end of last year, I started to separate these things out because I started to find it a little bit jarring to have my more personal writing open right beside like a to-do list that I'm writing in a cafe. Now I keep everything wrapped up in this leather portfolio. This is the Grand Voyager in chestnut from Paper Republic. I remember when I first got this, the fresh leather was a little bit of a jump scare, but very quickly it is softened, is patinaed out. I'm not careful with this, but I love how it's got so many scratches over time. It's just gonna get more beautiful, kind of turned into like a reddishy cognac color. I've also seen a lot of people DIY these leather journals, which I think is such a beautiful activity, and if I didn't have one already, I would do that because how wonderful to have a prized possession made by you. Anyway, here she is. A little messy inside because I added some extra elastics. I think the original just holds 2 notebooks and I wanted a couple more. I have 2 of these Muji slim grid notebooks at the front. One dotted, thinner one from Paper Republic, and the thicker dotted Paper Republic notebook. I like dotted and grid because lines I think are a bit strict. Blank pages I find overwhelming to open to, So I like there to be a little bit of something on the page. This larger notebook is what I think of when I think of my journal. This is probably the most authentic version of me. This is all my inner thoughts, all my existential questioning, every dream, whether it's literally what I dreamt last night or my manifestations, everything my therapist knows, and probably more in here. I reach for my journal when I need an emotional outlet, but I also use this notebook for my morning pages, which is the practice popularized by Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way. You basically wake up, write 3 pages, stream of consciousness, no editing, no stressing about what the content is. The practice of it is what's important, not to do it perfectly. Actually, if you're a beginner, I do think morning pages could be a great way to start to build up that repetition of writing every single day, whether you're literally sitting down and writing, I'm doing my morning pages, this is really boring, but at some point you will get some clarity or something will come out. After I finish my morning pages and have gotten rid of some of that initial brain fog, this is the time that I like to do my morning meditation. You guys know that I love Headspace for that. I've been working with them for a couple of years now, and I'm so happy to be bringing this partnership into 2026. It's so amazing to be able to work for a company that has helped me in so many positive ways, and I know has helped some of my friends and you guys. It's become part of my routine that I look forward to so much, whether I start with my meditation and then do morning pages or vice versa, depending on, excuse the pun, my headspace. One of the reasons I love journaling is that it's become a form of mindfulness for me. I can really be present, pay attention to the exact moment and feeling, and one of the most direct practices of mindfulness is meditation. Noticing the breath when the mind wanders, which for me is a lot, gently bringing it back to the present moment. Headspace have so many exercises if you are a beginner or if you're someone who's more experienced in meditation. They have courses on burnout, reframing stress. They have movement exercises, breath work, sleep casts if you have trouble going to sleep in the evenings, or maybe it's for your child. Something I've been using a lot when I'm reading or writing has been their frequencies, which I just discovered that they have. I just like to have something on to help me focus but not distract. I know there can be a lot of pressure at this time of the year to have these big resolutions or life changes for yourself, but one thing that I've learned over the years of kind of setting intentions is that the small things help so much in the long term. And it's actually proven that 5 minutes of headspace every single day can help reduce stress, which we all need, and over time increase happiness. So if you want to try it for yourself, Headspace are offering a 60-day free trial for you all, so I'll leave it down in the description and also here if you're interested. The next notebook that I have is this little guy. I reach for this every single day as well, but this is a lot more practical in the sense that it's full of to-do lists, packing lists, tracking habits, video planning. I kind of treat this as like scrap paper or an in real life notes app, but as I'm sure you guys are also trying, I want to be off my phone more, and I also find it a lot more satisfying to tick off something on paper than just press it on my phone. Sometimes I'll do my weekly outline in here, but for my monthly reflections or more introspective journal prompts, I will also keep it in this notebook because for me that's more personal writing. I don't do journal prompts every single time that I pick this up. As I said, I kind of prefer more of the stream of conscious writing, but if I do, these are the ones that I gravitate towards. I'll leave some of them on screen. I think it can be a great way to check in with yourself each month. If you're starting out with journaling, this can also be a great practice for you because it gives you a lot more direction for what you can write. So I'll leave some of my favorites here, as I said. The one thing I do keep digitally is my agenda, I guess, like all my appointments, events, deadlines. I also like to put them in on my phone so that I can get a reminder of when they're due or kind of have that overlook of what my month or week looks like. But the next notebook which I have is another dotted one from Paper Republic. This one's a bit smaller, and I guess I would call this like my academic journal. I love taking notes in school and uni, and after I graduated I still wanted to have that space to encourage learning for myself. And previously I would just write everything in my notebook like here, but as I said, I wanted to separate them out because this is going to be mostly full of other people's ideas, and it's nice to have that distinction from my personal writing. It also feels a little bit more intentional. I think I engage more with the text when I write things down. I'm going to use this to keep track of all the books I've read this year. The year has just started, so don't come for me. I did finish Another Country by James Baldwin, which I guess I want to say was my favorite book of last year because I started it at the end of December and then finished it last week. So brilliant. And I began to write my notes on this. There are a lot of things that can come up in a text that I want to remember. And if I'm also talking about what I've been reading with you guys in a vlog, it makes it quite easy for me to have my notes pre-written and I can refer back to them. Lastly, I don't consider this a journal, but on the days I have class I like to include it. It is my French exercise book. I write down everything that I've been learning. I live in Paris and been doing weekly conversational classes to hopefully one day become more fluent at this beautiful but difficult language. So I have phrases that I've learned, homework, pronunciations. I also jot down phrases that my friends have said. For example, Arthur texts me, qui t'en rien n'a rien, which I think means if you don't ask, you won't receive. And it's good to have those more like colloquial phrases that I can refer back to. That is everything which I have in here. Genuinely one of my favorite possessions. If you're starting out journaling, I think the best thing to remember is that this space is meant to be for you. No one else is meant to read it. No one else is meant to see it. You're not trying to make it aesthetically pleasing unless that is something that is like helpful for you. But this is meant to be a tool. It's meant to be a place for you to unwind, to relax. So what works for someone else isn't necessarily going to work for you too. It's hard not to get swept up in other people's practices or curated ecosystems, so to speak. But if you're starting out, I would just recommend getting one notebook that you really love, that you feel inspired by, because at the end of the day, you're kind of trying to rewire your brain to pick up this instead of a dopamine spiking device, if you know what I mean. And then just try a range of different things, whether it is morning pages, writing gratitudes. You might realize that you really hate that though. You might realize that you actually hate writing, and this is going to be a space for you to doodle, to draw, to stick in receipts, tickets, business cards. It might just be a place which is a lot more visual for you, and that is amazing. It might be a place of ideas, of manifestations, of just to-do lists. Whatever works, this is meant to be something that you enjoy doing. It's not meant to be a chore. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you would like more videos around journaling or taking you through different ways to practice different prompts. Also, a huge thank you once again to Headspace for sponsoring this video. Mindfulness is not meant to be complicated, and Headspace also make it so easy for you to practice something beautiful for yourself. So I'll leave the QR code here. You can also scan if you want to give it a go and check out their 60-day free trial. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you soon.
We rush around trying to create more space in our life, only to fill our minds so full that even when we have nothing left to do, the mind remains